Hey everyone, I'm Mike Connors, and this is How It Ticks, a podcast about the systems, stories, and ideas that shape life in Switzerland. My guest today is Tanya Dean, the creator and author of the popular Swiss hiking blog Swiss Family Fun. As an expat who fell in love with hiking in the Swiss Alps, Tanya has built an incredible platform with by far the best step-by-step guides for what really feels like every hike that exists in Switzerland. Switzerland is famous for its mountains, but finding the perfect trail can actually be pretty tricky, especially if you're not Swiss, don't speak German, and are not familiar with the mountains. How do you navigate the endless options to discover the best hikes for you, whether you're a local, a tourist, or exploring the Alps with your family? In this two-part episode, we first dive into Tanya's journey, how Swiss Family Fun evolved from a personal passion project into the Swiss travel platform that it is today. She shares the inspiration behind the blog, its growth, the challenges of an online blog in Switzerland, and how it's sustained through sponsors, partners, and digital products. Then we switch gears to the best hikes in 2025 for different categories of people. Tanya offers her top recommendations for visiting families, tips for tourists wanting to avoid the crowds, and her favourite trails for families with young children. We also discuss her hidden gems and invaluable advice for hiking on a budget while still enjoying incredible views. Now, here is my conversation with Tanya Dean. Tanya, thank you very much for joining me on How It Ticks. How are you today?
Doing great. Yeah, the sun is shining.
Starting from the beginning, where did the inspiration from Swiss Family Fun come from?
Well, I started in 2005 when I first moved to Switzerland. So I was living in San Francisco and my husband found a job here and we thought we'd have a little adventure. So I had a 1-year-old at the time and we moved over and it was quite a different landscape back then. We didn't have smartphones. It was really hard to find information about things in English. I had started blogging just so my family could see what we were doing. And as we started to travel and gather tips from other families on what to do, it seemed natural to just put them somewhere so we could share them. So if people asked, and I went to different play groups and people are always sharing tips. So I started, at the time it was called Moms Taught Zurich, and a lot of people who have been here a long time in Switzerland still know me as Moms Taught Zurich. So I know that they're OG followers. And yeah, I just started sharing all these little tips about where to go. And it was also really helpful for me to get out of the house because I had been working full time before I came here. So I was kind of a new stay-at-home mom. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know the culture. I was still learning how to have a happy life here, meet friends, know what to do with children. And it started to become a good way for me to leave the house and explore and have a purpose. And I did that for quite a few years just as a hobby and just enjoying it. And I had come from a technical writing background and also I was a product manager for a software company and doing usability and UX design. So all of those skills really helped writing the type of content because I wasn't really telling a family story like a lot of blogs. I was really telling it like instructions. And I think that's kind of the key difference on the type of content I provide is that it's less about me and it's more about you. I want to make sure that you can do everything that I tell you about. And it's not about me as a personality. It's more about how can I make your life better? Well, I can maybe have a question in there. I could talk all day about this.
No, that's great. There's a couple of questions coming to mind. So you said you started blogging about this. What did that look like back then?
Well, that's hard to remember. That was 20 years ago. But I mean, it was really just small tips. So someone would say, oh, hey, I heard about this free museum. It's great for kids. So I'd go and I'd write about it, just the basic information, what was our experience like there? The details about how to get there, when is it open? Because a lot of this information was only available in German. It was hard we didn't have like Google Translate, you had to really figure out what was happening. And I was learning German at the time. So they were really short, just a couple pictures. I didn't have a smartphone. So I was just taking them with my bad quality camera at the time. And, I upgraded that pretty quickly. and just writing about, okay, this is what was good for us. This was what didn't work for us. They do have a restaurant or you can't picnic there. These sort of little tips that were so helpful for families to know. And what was really important when I had small children is to know what I'm getting into, because when you have really small children, you really can't afford to make a lot of mistakes, because every time you miss the bus and then you have to wait there for a full hour, that's like the whole day is ruined. So knowing those small things can really make the difference between a good day and a bad day. And I kind of keep that motto of we make all the mistakes so you don't have to,
Hmm.
because we've made so many mistakes along the way. And I also felt kind of this, I mean, it was a way to just share your experience, to say, hey, we made all these mistakes, but now I know how to do it better. You can do it better than we did it. And that always felt good, to help someone else have a better day than you did.
At what point did you think that this could be bigger than something you were just sharing amongst your immediate network?
So there was definitely a lot of blogs that were monetizing with advertising. And that's not something that I wanted to do initially. I really uh, didn't want to annoy my audience with a bunch of ads on the website. And there was a real turning point. I met a new friend who had a successful YouTube channel at the time, and they really encouraged me to monetize, because I was already well above the threshold for, I use Mediavine to do advertising on my website. And I was well above the threshold of, I think it was like 50,000 views a month. And it just never really occurred to me that I could make like real money on the website. And they really encouraged me to do that. And also, I was kind of at a crossroads where I was absolutely burning out. I just was spending, I don't know, sometimes 15, 20 hours a week on the website. And I would stay up really late at night. Every weekend I'd go on a hike. I put the kids to bed, and then I would work till 1 or 2 in the morning, doing content. And I loved doing it, but I was absolutely burning out because I wasn't earning anything doing this work. So anyway, I monetized with Mediavine. And at first I was hardly earning anything. I thought this was absolutely ridiculous. I'm annoying all my people. I'm earning nothing. This is terrible. And my friend just really encouraged me, like, let it run. It has to figure out, who you are and who your audience are, so they can, it can work. And so it took maybe 6 months or so till I started earning enough where I thought it was worth it. And then it really changed my mindset. And I really started to treat it more as a business. And even though I wasn't making so much money at the beginning, I treated it differently. And when I spent time doing it, I thought, this is an investment in my future business, and it's not just a hobby. Because also, any time that I spent on the blog was also time I wasn't spending with my family or with my friends, or I don't know, doing chores, or, keeping the household. Like, there's always a choice of where you spend your time. And I felt like I could justify that better when I was earning money with the blog. So that mindset helped me to get over that hump of completely burning out and quitting. Because I used to think, I don't know, every day, every week, I would say, I'm quitting. I can't do it anymore. It's just, I'm exhausted. I don't know how I can continue doing it. And now that I don't have that same feeling anymore, because the investment, I mean, it is my business, and I see my efforts actually contributing to um, the family in real ways, in terms of financially, and being able to allow us to do a lot of the things that we couldn't do before, and help support my children in a way that I couldn't do before.
Why were you spending so many hours and on the verge of burnout when you weren't monetizing it yet?
Because I'm passionate about it. I mean, and I think that's, one main difference. Well, I mean, it's a positive and a negative. I mean, from the positive side, I think that's what makes a big difference about my content. I mean, I really do care, and I spend a lot more time maybe than I should.
Mm.
What often happens is that I have my priority list of things that are going to drive the bottom line for me. And then I often get distracted on things that I care about. I'd be like, even just last night, I had all these things I had to do. And I came across, a friend asked me for a tip. She's traveling in a particular part of Switzerland, and I'm like, "Oh, there's this great hike for you there." And I pulled up the post and I hadn't updated it in quite a few years. And I've been there 3 times since, and I have all these better pictures. And I said, well, this is ridiculous. So I spent like the next 45 minutes, like editing photos, putting new photos. And, no one's going to see that post except for my friend and maybe
Mm.
a few people, because it's not a super popular hike. But for me, I also say sometimes that it's like an art project. So it's my business and it's also a creative venture for me, where because I'm the sole owner, I get to make it exactly how I want. And if I want to spend 45 minutes making this particular post absolutely beautiful, I get to do that. And that's fun for me. And I think that if I was all business, I would delete that post, because literally the numbers on that post, hardly anyone's ever looking at it. And probably 60% of my posts, so few people look at them. And, but for me, it's a full project, because without those posts, they support all the other posts. So I have ones that are like the best spring hikes, the best hikes for beginners, the best, like all these best ones, those get a lot more traffic. But those posts don't exist without the details.
Mm.
And so I care about the details. And I think that that has an effect upstream that maybe it's not super tangible, but I feel it.
And what do you think changed from when you first started to monetize to 6 months later when the numbers started with increasing, or the revenue started increasing? Does the platform which you advertise on help you with SEO? What was it about it that allowed you to make more money?
The main thing is that I just paid a lot more attention to the analytics.
Mm.
So Mediavine wasn't helping me per se, but seeing the analytics of what content was, because you can see post by post which content earns the most. And it's so fun to see, like, wow, there's some, like, for example, I have one post on Kaiserschmarrn, which is a dessert. It's kind of like a fluffy pancake that you cut up and have with a compote of fruit. It's actually Austrian, but they serve it here. I wrote a post on that because I had a stint of, I don't know, 6 months or a year where I was writing a bunch of Swiss food posts because I thought those might do well, and some of them did. That's like one of my high performing posts that has nothing to do with hiking. It surprises me and it makes me money because food posts make a lot more money
Mm.
than travel posts. So those things are kind of fun and surprising. Sometimes it put me in the wrong direction because I saw that was making a lot of money. I thought, oh, I better do more food posts. So I did a bunch of food posts, but it's just not really my niche. And so, yeah, maybe they made me money, but it wasn't taking me where I wanted to go. So yeah, it changes because I've been monetized for, I think it's about 5 years now. And the landscape has really changed for advertising with AI. I mean, there's so many different things that have changed. And what SEO was 5 years ago is completely different now. Um, and you think that you've got it one time, you're like, oh, I'm great. I wrote this. There's some posts I would rewrite for SEO. And then maybe 3 months later, I'd see them just skyrocket. And it was so exciting.
Mhm.
And then like that same one of those same posts now is completely dead because AI, there's a certain kind of post like AI's, like especially those list posts, like listicles, those used to be really high generating. And now those are dying because anyone can type in like, what are the best,
Mm.
whatever wildflower hikes, and they just get a list. And, that sort of post is not really going to deliver for you anymore. I did spend a lot of time doing research on SEO. I paid for different tools to do research, but I'm so niche that they weren't super helpful. So there's just not so many people searching for a lot of the things that I write about. So the tools weren't helpful. I just had to really look at the analytics and see what was working. And I created a huge database of all of my posts, and I would track like I would go year by year and sometimes month by month what the traffic was. So I could see things that were trending up, trending down. I would mark when I would make changes to the titles or the descriptions or the content. So then I could see whether that was making a change to SEO, to the traffic over time. And I did that for a couple of years. And then at some point, I'm like, I can't. It was kind of fun and interesting. But at some point, it was for one person, I
The
can't
effort
spend so
versus
much
reward.
time. Yeah. I can't spend so much time, yeah, micromanaging that part of it.
I did want to ask you about that because myself included, but also I know a number of people, also expats living in Switzerland, having their own attempt at a side business, and the reason there isn't this attempt is because they've identified the fact that there is this huge gap of information or service which is providing something in English to foreigners living here. So I
Sure.
wanted to ask you, for your journey, what were some of was there anything that you discovered along your journey which you thought, this is really helpful, or this is something which I did, which I noticed was a big difference in the journey of Swiss Family Fun?
Well, I think that we all make the core mistake of thinking that we are our audience. So we see like one gap in the market and then we think, oh, well, I have this problem. Clearly, there's lots of other people that have this problem. What you have to do is take the next step and see if that's really true. And so what I mean, I talked to so many people. I've had so many people reach out to me and say, "Hey, can I, book an hour with you just to chat?" Because they want to do maybe something very similar to what I'm doing, either in the same market, sometimes in a different market. And really, my advice is, you have to follow what your audience wants, not what you want. And I think that's the big mistake that a lot of people make, is they write about what they love and what they're passionate about, and they don't listen. And that listening could be through the analytics. It can be through a lot of different ways. It can be through the engagement on social media, what questions people are asking, what comments people are leaving. And that tells you what's going to work for you. I think the reason people don't want to listen to that answer is that they may not actually be passionate about what people care about. And I struggle with that too. Like the example I gave earlier about going to that one post, like I really love writing. That's my background and I really enjoy it. And there's a lot of my business that I don't enjoy. And I still have to do it to make the business go. And there's lots of things that I have to write about that I don't really care about. So, for example, like travel passes, everyone, that's a really hot topic. Everyone's confused about it. They need information about it. And also the panorama trains, like all the scenic train rides in Switzerland, those are really popular. I don't really care about either of those topics, like personally,
Mm.
because I'm not a tourist. I live here. And so I don't do the scenic trains as a tourist. And I don't buy travel pass. I can't buy the travel passes because I'm a resident here. Uh, but however, I am now an expert on those things because I understood that my audience really cares about those topics. I'm in a unique position to be able to talk to a lot of people that are traveling and gather information uh, all the time. Like every day, I'm talking to people that are traveling on travel consults and through other ways that I communicate with my audience. And so, yeah, I write about something that's not my primary passion, but it's something that my followers really need help with. And I think that's the main difference. I've seen people continue to pursue what they started blogging and they had a vision. And I would use that same term of an artistic project. Like you have
Mm.
to think of it. Are you going to just do this because you have a vision and you want to execute it and it doesn't have to be profitable? That's fine. But if you want to make it profitable, you have to change your vision or expand it to have other things that aren't your initial idea. And the people that fall off the wayside that blog, you know, and do podcasts or whatever, they do all these things hard for like 4 or 5 years and then they drop off. It's because they took that path and they never made the turn to do something that was slightly outside of what their initial vision was.
Mm. Okay, so 6 months after you start to monetize, you see some growth, you see some progress. Between then and now, what are the key milestones or moments in the growth of Swiss Family Fun did happened that really made you go, yes, this is going well?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, maybe it's not what you were maybe thinking of, is actually something that was a negative that completely
Hmm.
changed how I'm doing my business now. So I want to say 2 years, but it could have been longer. Switzerland changed their privacy laws here. And what that meant for me is that my advertising media vine completely shut off advertising to my Swiss audience. My Swiss audience is like 60% of my traffic. And so overnight, I lost all of my, like basically all of my revenue. So it was just literally, it turned off the next day. At the time, I mean, I think it was even a bigger portion at the time when they turned it off. And I immediately contacted them, like, what happened? Like, is there something wrong on my site? Like, I'm not getting any more advertising revenue. And they're like, oh, let me look into it. And like a week later, they're like, oh yeah, no more advertising in Switzerland. I'm like, what? And so, I mean, I literally cried because I had just had my best summer ever. I was like, I'm quitting everything. I'm so excited. Like, all my dreams are coming true. Like, everything is working. And it was literally like one day to the next, completely devastated. So I was sad for like a month. And then I didn't know what I was gonna do, and then I thought, "Okay, well, we're going to, phoenix out of the ashes here," and it made me completely change what I'm doing, and in retrospect, it's great because now I have multiple streams of income doing different things. So, I started pursuing affiliate revenue, with, uh, Get Your Guide, so people booking experiences or travel passes or hotels or other things. So as I advise them either through travel consultations or my website, I'm getting some affiliate revenue. I hadn't really invested in that at all before this happened, but I'm like, well, I have to make up for the advertising revenue. I also have to pursue the US audience more because they're still getting advertising. So if I can make that a higher percentage of the people that are using my website, then I can at least earn from them, even if my Swiss residents are not getting the ads. So I wrote a lot of content that was specific to the US audience, and it pays higher anyway. The advertising rates are much higher for US than for Swiss. And then I also started building digital products. So I started with a small ebook or some like one pagers. And then I had an ebook that did really well. I ended up giving it away. I gave away like 3,000 copies just to
Mm.
build my email list. And then I decided to start selling it because it was just so popular. And then I started building a digital guide. So now I have this Switzerland travel guide through this app called Rexby that has an interactive map. It has suggested itineraries. It has like so much content. And I wouldn't have been motivated to do all of those things if my revenue hadn't disappeared. And since then, like my revenue has recovered, but because of the efforts that I've done, because I've built up the US audience, because I'm writing content that is really geared towards advertising revenue. And I'm not saying that that's bad content, it's just towards content that people are searching for. So it's been quite a journey over the past few years. I'm not quite sure where I'm at the moment. I have so many different things that I'm doing, and I'm trying to figure out what things I want to invest in going forward so I can continue to thrive and not burn out again.
I have a few different questions which came out of that. Let's start maybe with affiliates. How did you decide which affiliates to reach out to? I guess Get Your Guide naturally makes sense, but did you also go through any Swiss specific ones?
I initially started with gear because I thought that would be a good one. You know, people always ask, like, what shoes are you wearing? You know, what rain jacket? And so I started doing all these gift guides also. So a lot of Swiss gifts and other products. So I thought, okay, I could start with the Swiss audience. And if they buy something from my gift guide, then I get a little affiliate revenue. That was a total failure. Like, I didn't make anything. I've spent so much time creating all of this content, you know, researching it and really made nothing. So I had to abandon that. I've tried, you know, booking.com for hotels. This seemed like a natural fit. And some of my colleagues that do a similar business, it seemed to be working really well for them. So I spent a lot of time doing that. Also, very minimal. I mean, almost nothing. In fact, I'm at the point where I'm just like, forget it. I would
Mm.
prefer that people book direct because I always book direct with hotels, and the margins are so thin. And I know that hotels really hate booking because they take such a big
Such a big
cut.
cut.
Yeah, huge cut. And so I think ethically, I don't like it and I'm not making any money doing it. So what's the point? So I'm just going to take all of that out of I mean, when I have time, I'm going to take it out because I just don't think there's any point. And I make revenue in other ways. So I don't think it's a point. Get Your Guide works great for me. They they have lots of good experiences, and I've had a good experience with them, and I think it's pretty fair. We'll have to see, how that is long term. Right now, it seems to be working as well as it has. I haven't seen any drop off. I don't know. There might be other ways. I haven't worked with other ones. I know there's like Viator and other providers, but it's just, I think, too difficult to have so many different ones. So I've just kind of put all my eggs in one basket for that. And we'll see how it goes, and maybe I'll have to swap it out.
Interesting. What about partnerships? I can imagine there are a number of different organizations within Switzerland that you could collaborate with to help spread and share for the purpose of advertisement, but also the knowledge that you're generating.
Yeah, so there's different types of partnerships. I mean, I have people contacting me multiple every week wanting me to promote their products. I don't like to do it because it stresses me out.
Hmm.
Like I really want people, like if they're going to either pay me or give me product, like I want it to be worthwhile to them. I want them to, have it help with their business. And I don't know how much social media, like influencer work, like you can't really measure it. It's really hard.
Hmm.
And so I don't really reach out for brand deals. And the ones that I accept are ones that usually make sense to me. Where I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I do hotel collaborations and collaborations with tourism offices because it allows me to write more content. So I get really excited because it means that like I just did 2 this week, and it's great because I get to go to the region, I get to do a lot of hikes, I get to see a lot of things, and now I have lots of content I could put on the website. And I wouldn't necessarily have the money to go to all of these places and spend it for myself but I do need the content. So that's a great it's just a natural fit. It still is really stressful for me because I have to do a lot. I mean, hours and hours of work, creating reels and editing and photos. I mean, it's just sometimes it feels like, what am I doing? It's just a lot of work, but it's a natural fit to my business. So I think that's good.
All this work that you're doing, have you ever considered hiring someone to help you? I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand that this is your
No,
creative baby, but surely there's a bunch of admin work that you can offload to make your life easier.
I know people that do my kind of work, the ones that are much more successful than me definitely have teams. They have
Mm.
VAs, they have video editors, they have people that are doing all that work. I definitely want to do that. And I did have a few this year. I tried a couple of video editors. I tried a VA for a little bit. I tried just an editor for a little bit. And I think it's like anything, you have to invest in those people over a long period
Mm.
of time to get them to do what you want. And I just don't feel like I have the time at the moment to step back and spend a lot of time with them, yeah, to them to the point where it's actually really working. And I do think that's probably the next step that I have to do with my business to start getting people so I can yeah, scale. I mean, for example, my YouTube channel, I haven't posted anything in quite a while, and it's shocking to me how many people book travel consults with me just from my YouTube channel. They've literally never come to my website ever. They don't even know I have a website.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I have a pretty small YouTube channel compared to most people. And it's absolutely shocking to me that that they don't know any of my other channels. And so it's definitely useful for me, and even though it's small. I have minimum 70 videos worth of footage of hikes in my, on a hard drive here that I just don't have time to edit. So if I had an editor, and I could have one going out like once a week or twice a week, that would be a great
So much
thing for
potential.
me. It would
Mm.
be, there's so much potential. I'm like full of ideas. I have so much content. I have so many things I could do. But yeah, I think it's that being able to step away from your business. I have a really hard time. My son is always giving advice. He's like, good YouTubers or good people in this space. They don't spend their money on themselves. They invest it in the business. They're like, you should just spend everything you make
Quite the entrepreneur.
on, yeah, like on the business and have so it's just ramping up
Mm.
rather than saying, yay, I made this money and now I get to spend it. And I think that's just a hard mindset change. So yeah, I need to have my inner coach tell me to do the right thing.
Yeah, that I can relate to. The company will grow as fast as much as you invest into it, and the more you invest, that's I can definitely
Sure.
understand. What about like how did you? I mean, there's so many avenues which you've gone into with this. I guess what was once a blog now is really a travel platform.
Hmm.
Is it all self-taught? Did you go to anyone to learn how to put together packages to share with people, how to build an ebook? Did you learn all of that yourself, or did you get some help?
No, I just did. I mean, I watched tutorials and I just did everything myself. I mean, my other job, and I'm a web designer on the side.
Hmm.
So, well, I mean, on the side, sometimes that's more of my job. Sometimes it kind of goes back and forth. So I do have a lot of technical skills and I can learn things pretty quickly. So, um, yeah, just pretty much self-taught. I could probably do better if I got an expert in here for sure.
But like you said, it's also if it's your own art project, so if part of the fun is figuring out yourself, then that's fine, right?
Sure.
Mm.
Sure. I do have a graphic design and partner that I work with. I work with her on web design projects. And so she did, design my logo. She helped me with some of the format and layout for the ebook when I started that. So that was really helpful getting me kind of jump started in that.
That's it for part one of my episode with Tanya, but be sure we are not done. Stay tuned for part two, coming soon.